Hey, are you there, Ann?
I'm here.
Hey, the Supreme Court, in fact, has finally said, well, half the travel ban can be allowed for against the people. Forget it. You know it. You know what they said.
Actually, I didn't. I just realized I've got to stop doing this. I get up and just start working without checking to see what the news is.
Oh, all right. Well, the part of the travel ban.
Fantastic news. So what happened?
The part of the travel ban that eliminates people from 6 countries from coming here, the stay was lifted. So that in, I guess, 96 hours or something, that will go into effect again. But they left intact the portion about refugee resettlement.
And is this an official opinion or is this preliminary?
Oh, no, these are opinions. I mean, Gorsuch's opinion is priceless.
This is going to be a happy day.
He and Thomas, well, they're going to hear the
so
case.
Often the news isn't that interesting, and I start reading the news, and I never get my work done. I go on Drudge and Breitbart. So I've started sometimes. I mean, for the past week, there's good stuff to get to. By just starting what I've decided I want to write or talk about. Wow.
Yeah. So people with no ties.
I'm so out of the breaking news.
Yeah. Especially because you're an attorney, and I was going to ask you a bunch of attorney-type questions about it, but that's all right. I'll take that up later in the show. I'll find another legal analyst.
This is really great and important news. And by the way, I agree with Trump. People are being. It's funny. Everything the media hates about Trump is what I actually love about him. It's the stuff they're not talking about that keeps ticking me off. But one of the things that a big deal was made of was that, it's so outrageous that he's ruining his legal standing by tweeting out, I should have stayed with the original ban. Mm-hmm. And I'm just staring at that, trying to figure out for one thing, it's fairly common for clients to complain about their lawyers restricting them. That is not, judicially recognizable, being snippy about your attorneys. But moreover, the big difference in the first travel ban and the second travel ban was that he cut one country out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they upheld these 6 countries, my guess is they would have upheld Iraq. I mean, Iraq has a particularly good justification for something I discovered and wrote a lot about. The 2 Iraqis who were, at great expense to U.S. taxpayers, resettled in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then, upon the slightest investigation, it turns out not only were they not helping U.S. forces in Iraq, they were part of the resistance in Iraq, and one of their fingerprints, at least one of them, they were blowing up U.S. troops with IEDs, and they found an IED factory, found one of these blessed, beloved refugees we've resettled, found his fingerprints on IEDs back in Iraq.
Right.
They had come to America. They're being eavesdropped on. They'd come to America to pursue a U.S. general and his troops whom they were particularly upset about. So we're paying to bring in the people we were fighting against in Iraq. So Trump was right. He should have kept Iraq in.
So here, I'll give you the official. The Supreme Court is letting a limited version of the ban on travel from 6 mostly Muslim countries to take effect, a victory for the president and the biggest legal controversy. The court said Monday the ban on visitors from those 6 countries could be enforced as long as they lack a credible claim of a bona fide relationship with a person or entity in the U.S. The justices will hear the arguments in the case in October.
Oh, okay, I see. So, okay. So there will be fuller argument. And just out of curiosity on how utterly corrupt the liberal judges are, how did the vote go? Could you tell?
Oh, well, we know Gorsuch wrote an opinion. He agreed with Justice Thomas and with Justice Alito that they should...
Did anybody dissent?
No, he agreed that they should have let the complete ban take effect.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was their dissent.
But what about Breyer and Ginsburg?
I didn't see the breakdown, but
because I got to tell you, 20 years ago, I would say 20 years ago. I don't think you could. I think even 10 years ago, the left was pretty darn corrupt on the judiciary. But 20 years ago, you would have the liberal judges being honest about what the law is. What has happened and what has become so corrupting to our judiciary is that liberals figured out, well, we can't get Americans to vote for the stuff we like, but the courts have the last word. It's not that the courts are our philosopher kings here, the way the left sees them, and apparently a lot of Americans are starting to see them. The Supreme Court, the judiciary, is a co-equal branch with the president. He doesn't have to listen to what the Supreme Court says, incidentally. He takes an oath to uphold the Constitution, too. It's generally not done because the order of things, in fact, it's almost never done, the order of things is that the Supreme Court gets the last word, but that's because we were counting on judges to be honest and to see what the law is. They're supposed to be interpreting the law, not developing social policy for us. But once the left figured out, oh, we can develop social policy, and since we're the last word, there's nothing they can do. Pretty much, I mean, sort of famously starting with Roe v. Wade, which is why even liberal attorneys who love abortion, if they're speaking honestly, they'll tell you, come on, the decision is utterly corrupt. And once liberals started deciding, well, we can read whatever we want to in this invisible ink constitution, the courts became more and more corrupt, which is why I've often argued that the only way to get the left to understand what they are doing is so corrupting of democracy in all kinds of ways, is to do the same thing to them. The first time they realized that, sexual harassment laws may have gone too far was when their president was actually, dropping his pants and saying kiss it, molesting interns, obstructing justice. Suddenly, we think these laws have gone too far. So I always wanted 5 Supreme Court justices, just, for a gag, for maybe one term, to start reading the Constitution and discovering a right to a flat tax, a right to bear nuclear arms, just crazy stuff, whatever we'd like.
Yeah, exactly. That works for me. They also took on the case of the wedding cake for the same-sex couple for next session, and they did hand down a decision on that church playground that wasn't allowed to receive funds that all the public schools were getting to make it safer for the children. The Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. You got to give it to the Lutheran school as well. So that it's looking very positive. And if Kennedy, in fact, does announce a retirement, he didn't so far, but if he were to do it within the next couple of weeks, well, I must say, I am against Drudge posting those headlines about prospective retirements. I've perhaps longer than most people because I did go to law school, so I've been paying attention to the Supreme Court for a long time. But, oh, my gosh, I've heard the rumors of someone retiring so many times. It was just, absolutely certain for year after year after year that Sandra Day O'Connor was going to retire. And I've learned you can never trust this, point one. Point two is most of these guys, it's a great job. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting. It's intellectually interesting. And most of them are not going to retire to spend more time with their families. They usually have to be carried out feet first. Yeah, well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's not going anywhere. So now tell me, I'm on Twitter on Friday, and you lit up the Twitter universe as usual. Apparently, you got censored on Fox by Sean Hannity. Is that true? Oh,
it's so frustrating. I used to have a rule with liberal networks only, no pre-tapes, because you're doing live TV. Whenever you'd get them, no, they'll just edit that part out to make themselves look good. I mean, you can edit something to make a person look any way you'd want. I mean, you're going to say any number of words to change what the question is, and it really is outrageous. But this was look, bless Hannity's heart. He is, after, months and months and actually years of promoting Rubio to the presidency, he seems to be making up for lost time by defending every little thing Trump does. I think at this point Trump could come out and announce he's going to be implementing the principles of the Communist Manifesto, and Hannity would be there defending him, which, has its value. But he asked me about and what I was supposed to be talking about. We weren't able to talk about it before I went on. Maybe he would have been warned what I was going to say if it had been in studio. But he was doing it from his house in Long Island. So he just springs on me, and if you saw it, there was a long lead-in. It was about the
Gary Cohn, yeah,
and the Cedar Rapids speech,
right.
which I was actually sitting in studio for. I was going to comment on it on Tucker, but this speech went right through Tucker's whole show. So I tried to tweet a little bit of that speech. It was hard because it was on my iPhone. And it was striking if you saw that speech. I think it's Trump's guilty conscience, where he's trying to get the Cedar Rapids crew, that crowd, to cheer for Goldman Sachs. Wow. And I got to tell you, the crowd wasn't having any of it. And that crowd would have cheered anything. He could have said the sky is blue, and they would have whooped it up. Mm-hmm. But when he gets to his little soliloquy, which was totally weird, on Gary Cohn and Goldman Sachs, it was pretty much crickets. So that's what Hannity was asking about. And if you saw the segment, then he's showing Morning Joe and all these MSNBC people denouncing Trump for saying, I want a rich person running the economy. So he comes to me to comment. I make a quick remark.
I think you said I don't watch that show.
Right. Yeah. And then suddenly he's asking me about my column. I mean, the editing, the physical editing of the tape was smooth, but logically it made no sense. Why did you have a 20-minute intro just to have Ann say, I don't watch that show? Obviously, I went on to talk about the Cedar Rapids speech and the encomium to Gary Cohn. And I said, look, there are rich people, and it's unfair to throw Wilbur Ross in with some banker, and particularly Gary Cohn from Goldman Sachs. Hannity had said, the old cliche, I never got a job from a poor man. I've only gotten jobs from a rich man. I said, I promise you've never gotten a job from Goldman Sachs. Their business is to send jobs abroad. Mm-hmm. And Gary Cohn in particular, if he's going to do for the economy what he did for himself, he scammed customers. That was a long Senate report found that. He oversaw the mortgage department at Goldman Sachs before the mortgage meltdown. And what Goldman was doing during that period, it has been well documented. That was Gary Cohn. Then participated in the largest taxpayer bailout of the big banks in U.S. history. So, there's rich and there's rich. Kim Kardashian is rich. Yeah. Bernie Madoff was rich. Wilbur Ross creates jobs. I'm not wild about them right now, but the Koch brothers, they create jobs. Wall Street does not create jobs. Yeah. And anyway, that's what I said, I think this is a mistake. This is not what we voted for, to have Goldman Sachs. I might add, Gary Cohn is a liberal Democrat, still a registered liberal Democrat. I think his influence has been pernicious. He was attacking coal, contrary to Trump's policies. I mean, the media like him because they consider him
one of them.
Yeah, they're left-wing Democrat in the White House. But it was weird then because I talked about that. And then out of the blue, something I wasn't supposed to talk about, Hannity said, so tell me about your column this week. And that's when I thought, you're going to cut everything I just said.
Yeah, well, you were right.
So I tweeted it in advance. If he cuts one word about what I said about Goldman Sachs and Gary Cohn, it will be a scandal. And then, as expected, he cut it. See my column this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ann, thanks. I kind of figured that was the whole story because it really was awkward. I don't even think it was a smooth edit. It was like, I don't really watch that show. What about your column? What? I said, wait a minute. She may not watch the show, but the subject she knows, But anyway, listen, they're under a lot of pressure over there at Fox, as you can tell, and they've shifted. They've shifted dramatically, and we all better get ready either for another network to emerge or for them.
I disagree with you on this. I love Tucker. I think it is the best show on TV, and in fact, the best show I've ever seen on TV.
Yeah, I agree, but I've said that in the past. I said that about Megyn Kelly once upon a time. Something happens, and I don't know.
With Tucker, it's the reverse. He was untrustable back when he was on CNN.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We're certainly, it's all we got now. So I'm still holding on, but I have a feeling that he may not.
I want Mark Stein to come in.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be huge.
Yeah, I want Mark Stein just to come in the studio and sit here for half an hour. Actually, it makes me laugh, and he tells me things that nobody else will say. But anyway, thanks, Ann. I appreciate it. I'm not editing you. I'm really running out of time.
Okay, good to talk to you, Joyce.
See you soon. Take care.